Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be covering whether it's a great idea whether you should buy a vehicle from a private seller or you should just stick with buying from a dealer. So I'm going to go through a few hints and tips if you are looking to buy from a private seller and go through some pros and cons straight after this little intro. So you've probably started your car search journey online somewhere. You've gone to an aggregated site, something like Auto Trader, Car Gurus, something like that, and you've found a vehicle and it might be from a private seller. So when you get to see the vehicle, you get to see the person, the first thing you need to do is check the vehicle history, and you need to be checking if the title and registration is registered with the person who is selling it. So the title and registration is in the person's name that is selling the vehicle. Now sometimes, depending on where you are in the world, for instance like in the UK, the logbook itself doesn't mean it's actually the owner of the vehicle. The invoice, the purchase invoice, is actually the bit that stipulates that they own the vehicle. So you need to make sure that they're all correct. So make sure that you're checking their name. Make sure, if you can get photo ID so you can see the person in front of you is matching up to the name and the address of where you've gone to see the vehicle. And just make sure that them things are right first and foremost before you go any further. The second thing you need to be doing is a vehicle history check around its whether it's got any outstanding finance, whether it's been in any accidents. You can use HPI in the UK or other ones like MotorCheck, Car Vertical. You might be using Carfax if you're in the States or if you're in Europe, and that will be able to tell you whether there's any history that is going to jump out in terms of any outstanding finance, any damage, any write-offs or anything like that. You need to make sure you do that when you're buying from a private individual. The next thing you really need to do is make sure that the vehicle is inspected well. Now, if you've got experience in terms of mechanics or you understand vehicles, then you can go through that process pretty well yourself. But as a vehicle dealer, we will always put vehicles through a pre-delivery inspection in the workshop, and you should ask the seller before you actually even get to them whether they would abstain to you having any vehicle checks done on the vehicle, so any pre-delivery inspection. So whether you want to send a mobile mechanic out, which is a service right now, or whether you want to take it to a local garage to make sure that the vehicle is what it's meant to be and it can go through the pre-delivery inspection process. That's really important. And if the seller says, no, I'm not having any of that, you need to just simply walk away from the car. Don't even waste your time and go and look at it. That is one of the biggest telltale signs that there's issues going on and they don't want you to find out. So that's the first bit. Make sure the vehicle history, make sure the owners are where they need to be, make sure you do HPI or Carfax checks, and make sure that the owner of the vehicle is okay with you organising for a pre-delivery inspection. It's all its checks that it needs. Obviously, go through the process and find out when the MOT is done. Now, even if the MOT, ITV, wherever you are in the world, has just been done a week or two ago, you still need to get them checks done because anything could have happened in that time period. So that is, first and foremost, the first thing you need to do when you go and look at a car from a private seller. Is the purchase price. The reason that you are looking at a vehicle from a private seller is because of the price. You don't want to go to the dealer and pay a little bit more or whatever it may be because there's a good deal to be had from the private seller. Now, obviously a dealer needs to make profit on each vehicle to keep the business going, but a private seller is less inclined to have to worry about that because it's not their business. So you can get a great deal if you go to a private seller and you've done all the checks that we talked about prior, and they want to sell it quickly. They might want to be picking up a new car or whatever the case may be. But like with anything, if the price is abnormally low, you need to make sure that all your checks are done. And sometimes the old saying that if it's too good to be true, it normally is. Now, when it comes down to purchase price, there is a lot of people out there scamming people. So private sellers, there is a hell of a lot of people selling cars privately, but they're in the game of scamming. Either that or theft. Now, this is where reputation comes down to it, especially with a car dealer. They have a reputation they have to uphold. They have a service that they have to uphold, and they have warranties and everything else that they have to put in. And it is their business, so it's important to them to make sure that they do everything right, or it should be. With a private seller, that doesn't really happen. So, your rights, there is some rights there when you purchase the vehicle, but they're less inclined to even want to help you once you've paid them and gone away. So you need to make sure that everything adds up. Now, when I'm talking about scamming, there is people fictitiously pretending to be somebody else. There's people cloning cars, and there's also theft. And when I say theft, what I mean by that is that people are putting cars up at a cheap price or a reasonably good price with its age and mileage. They're saying they want paying in cash. You turn up, they rob you, they take the cash, there is no car. So you need to make sure that you do all of the due diligence when you're going through that process. Another little tip that we use as a car dealer, because we do this, we do buy from privates. We go on, we look to see if there's any deals that can be had, is the way the pictures are taken of the vehicle, but also the location of the vehicle, the way it's presented, and the care taken behind it. Now, I don't mean to sound funny by this, but for instance, if the car is in front of a house that's got overgrown grass, bikes all over the drive, and just generally looks like a tip, I just wouldn't want to go and look at it. And that's from a car dealer's point of view, because that tells me that they're not really looked after the car because of look at the surroundings that it's in. That might be stereotypical, but that's just my thought process when we go through that process as a car dealer, because we do, like I say, buy from private individuals. Now, we're going to move on to the third part of the puzzle when you're buying from a private individual, is if you need finance for the vehicle. Now, it's very difficult. You can't obviously go and buy a vehicle from a private like you can from a car dealer, where they've got relationships with lenders, or there's relationships with banks, and they are trusted by the lender or banks to be able to provide a service to the customer, and they will obviously finance it and back it. And when you're buying from a private individual, 9 times out of 10, you've got to go to the bank if you want financing. The bank is less likely to want to lend you money if you're buying from a private individual, purely because of the bits that we covered earlier, the reputation aspect, any after-sales problems or anything like that. Their liability is higher because they know that there's not going to be anything fixed or sorted out, because there's less intention from a private seller. So they are more inclined to lend if you are buying through a dealership or a finance brokerage of some kind that is going to back it up with the service. So overall, I mean, the verdict for me is that if you are looking for a used car and you're looking to buy it from a private individual, it's a great way to get a great deal. Like I say, as a car dealer, I look to do that as well. But there are some steps and some due diligence that you have to take along the way to make sure that you're not going to get done over and you're not going to end up buying a lemon in the process. Hopefully this video has helped if you are looking at buying a vehicle from a private individual. I'd love to get some feedback as normal. Make sure you drop some comments below. If you've got any stories you can tell me, that would be great. And thanks for watching the video. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and give this video a big thumbs up, because it helps when we create more moving forward. Thanks for watching.